Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at a couple new knives for you. This is from GEO Knife. This is the GEO Knife 903, and here we have the GEO Knife 901. Before I go any further in this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what you see, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to keep bringing the content for you. Now, let me give you a little backstory on these knives before we get too deep into it, because these knives were sent to me, at no cost to me, from GEO Knife. So we will assume that these knives were the best quality controlled models to ever leave the plant. Think what you want about that, but regardless, I would like to thank GEO Knife for sending them along. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support of the channel, and I vow to give you guys my honest review of these. So some may be good, some may be bad. You're going to find out here real quick. Another nice thing to know about these knives, and I found this somewhat reassuring. So GEO is owned by the same group of people who own Kubi knives. So they're not part of the Kubi brand. They're totally separate brands, but they're owned by the same people and made in the same factory. So with that being said, I will say right now, I completely believe that, because these two knives here definitely show every trait of quality from what I've seen from Kubi. So that's a good thing. But now let's get into these darn guys. Let's take a look at the specs of each one at a time. We will start with the 903. And we have an overall length of 7 inches with a blade length coming in at 3 inches and a blade width of 1 inch. Blade thickness coming in at 0.14 inches with a handle length of 4 inch, a handle width of 1 inch, and handle thickness coming in at 0.686 inches. This guy is a little bit of a chunker. And we have a price of only $19.99. So that's pretty darn good. Now, and behind the edge, we're looking at right around 21 thousandths behind the edge, so very average. Not bad, but very average. And for the 901, let's take a look at that. We have an overall length of 7.75 inches, a blade length of 3.3 inches with a blade width of 1 inch, and a blade thickness of 0.156 inches with the behind the edge reading of 21 thousandths as well. So again, middle of the road, not good, not bad, but it will still take care of your EDC tasks. And we have a handle length of 4.5 inches with a handle width of 0.815 inches and a handle thickness of 0.567, which is a little more on the lines of your normal typical EDCs. I actually really like knives in the 0.45 to 0.56, 0.5, really all the way up to 0.6, I think is pretty good as far as thickness for me. Then you start talking about how does it feel in the pocket. We'll get to that on these two here in a bit. And a overall price of $38.68. So both very, very, very affordable pieces. Also worth noting, both of these knives are running on bearings, which is always nice to hear if you like the fidgety action aspect of a knife. And both of these knives have well, I'm not gonna give you any hints too early. We'll talk about action when we get to action. We're gonna do the same style of review just with these two knives. And before we do that, let's do size comparisons. We have your TRM Atom, and we have your Civivi Elementum. As you can see, the Elementum is actually a little closer in length than I thought it would be. It's actually almost the exact same length as your 903. The 901 is a little bigger because it has a longer blade and longer handle, but the 901 actually measures up pretty well with your TRM Atom. Some pretty good examples right there, but I got a couple more for you too, just in case you're still wondering. We have your Benchmade Bug Out. Everyone knows the size of the Bug Out, and the large Griptilian, which I think a lot of you are very familiar with as well. So, again, pretty close overall in size. The Bug Out has the 903 by a little, but the 903 is just a slightly shorter knife than the rest. And last, but certainly not least, let's pair it with the Spyderco family. We have your Spyderco Shaman, and we have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And of course, both of these knives look a lot bigger because they have gigantic handles, which is fine, no big deal. But everyone knows Spyderco's handles are always a little bit bigger. These are also custom handles from Sharp Dressed Knives, so they do run, on the Shaman at least, slightly thicker. But again, still very good size comparisons to give you guys an idea of exactly what you're working with. So there's that. Hope you liked them. Now let's talk about these knives. Let's start with the 901. And I'm going to take the 903 here, move it off to the side so it doesn't mess with the focus on my camera, and let's get into it. We have a very nice drop point blade. As I said, we have 21 thousandths behind the edge, which is nothing special, but it's going to work for you just fine. And you also have a very nice mirrory satin finish, which, as you can see, God, you can see my face in the blade. Whether you like that or don't like it, it's nice to know that it has kind of a fancier finish on it. Now that finish, let me hide back behind the camera here to save you guys the eye burning of my face. I'm just kidding. My mom says I'm really handsome, so that's all that matters. But no, as far as the finish on the blade, it's nice, it's fancy, but at the end of the day, it's going to show some scratches and marks a little more than a stonewash finish. I personally prefer stonewash finishes most of the time. I like satin finishes, but the mirror finish, while I do still like it because it does have that nice fancy feel, that's more of like pocket jewelry level of knife. A $38.68 knife to me is never going to be pocket jewelry. I'm going to beat the hell out of it. So I guess I would rather see a stonewash finish on this blade, but we're getting into real personal preferences. That's just me. As far as the overall blade shape and blade design, I think this knife looks fantastic. It doesn't exactly remind me of anything else. That's the first, when I see a simple knife, I look at it and I say, does it really remind me of something else? Especially in this day and age, everyone's always accusing people of this, that, and the other. I don't see that with this knife. I see a rather, pretty much, it doesn't scream anything else at me. So I like the simplicity. I like the fact that I don't see another knife in this, and I do think it just looks pretty damn good. I like the swedge up here at the top, and the 21 thousandths behind the edge is going to work good enough. I ran it through some copy paper to test the edge. There was no burrs, no nicks, anything like that. So a nice smooth edge, pretty good factory edge, even though it was, not quite your Civivi thinness, but it still will get the job done. It has some jimping up here at the top of the blade, which is nothing special. You feel it, but it's not going to be like your giant mouse style of jimping, which I find to be very effective, but nonetheless, it's there. So it's nice to have somewhere to put your thumb and have, kind of, if nothing else, a place to just realize, hey, you know what, got it fully in hand, and when I really need to grip down on it, it'll do a little something for me, I think. And then down here on the flipper tab, you have pretty nice jimping as well, which is effective enough to deploy the blade and work just fine. We're going to talk more about that when we get into the action on this guy, because it's not too shabby. But as far as the blade, that's really about it. That's all I have to say about the blade. It's a nice blade. I do wish it was more of just a machine grind satin or a stone wash. But other than that, love the design, love the looks. Very attractive blade. Going out into the handle, which is also nicely simple and attractive, but it has just a nice little amount of accent, flair, a little extra lineage here in the pivot, which I do like. There's no branding. I've always pointed out on the Kubias how I really hate the Kubi branding on the pivot. This doesn't have that, so I do like that. This kind of reminds me of a camera shutter or aperture. So I like that a lot. I'm into photography. I think you guys know that by now, but kind of reminds me of a camera shutter / aperture, whatever. So I think that's pretty cool. Decent little hardware in here. These look like they are they're definitely either T6s or T8s, but they actually look like a decent little amount of depth. Nice screws. I don't see that being an issue. The screws in the Kubies were all just fine. I'm assuming they're probably using the same screws since they're made in the same factory, so no concerns or issues there. As far as the blade centering and lockup, very centering, solid, no blade play whatsoever. And as you can see, it's centered almost perfectly for a $38.68 knife. That is good to go for me. But back to the handle real quick. It feels very good. The ergos, I would consider the ergos just about great. They're definitely better than good. And I have no reason to say they're not great. So there you go. I like the ergos a lot. The pocket clip is fine. Goes in and out of the pocket pretty easily. You may feel this tip depending on your hands, how it's shaped, how you hold it. could potentially be a little bit of a hot spot, but for me, I don't have any real issue with it. As far as the design on the pocket clip, I could go without that. Again, we're getting pretty picky here with personal preferences, but I would prefer if the cutout just wasn't there. But regardless, I like the design of it. I think it goes pretty well on the knife. It's not deep carry, so there's that, in case that's a make or break thing for you. Not a make or break thing for me, so it's not quite the end of the world. It is only right hand carry, though. There's no left hand option, so for you guys that are left-handers, I'm sorry. If you want to carry this or buy this guy, you're going to have to carry it a little awkwardly. But there's that. When you go into the inside here, you see there is a decent amount of milling. You have 4 big pockets, one right here, and then 2 more back here, which are a little harder to see, but I'm kind of looking above my camera now, and I can see them. They're there, which I think made a significant difference in weight reduction. So that is very good. And going into the liner lock, it's a very nice liner lock. I like the way the liner lock lines up with the blade. Doesn't go too far into the blade, but stays enough to where you know you have a secure lockup. So that's always good. Access to the liner lock is very easy and not very noticeable. That's always a good thing. And on to the action, which is definitely the best part of this knife. I do really like the design, though. I want to say the aesthetics of this knife, I think, are very good, but the action is just as good. Shake shut, rather easy. Pops right out on the push deployment, and also works just fine on the light switch deployment. So it checks all the boxes there. No real issues. Definitely reminds me of the quality of a Kubi in every way imaginable. So very good thing there. If you guys have seen my previous videos on Kubi, you can tell I like them. So that's very good. Now let's put this guy aside, and let's take a look at the GEO 903. The 903, we have thumb stud deployment, which works very well. Coming up to the blade, I like this blade shape just as much as the 901 in its own little way. I'm not a big fan of the black blade coating, but again, that just kind of is what it is. Same edge as the 901 at 21 thousandths, which is no big issue there. Again, these knives are budget knives, so I don't know anyone that collects budget knives and doesn't use them. So when it comes to all that, it's a blade that's going to hold up. D2 is going to work just fine for you, and the edge is thin enough to handle your EDC tasks. The jimping up here at the top, I do like the jimping more on this guy. It's a little more aggressive, and I feel it more. I think it gives it a little more of a little better grip, a little bite on your thumb without tearing your thumb up. So that's very good. That's really about it for this blade. There's nothing. One thing I do like about both of these blades is the minimal branding. That's very nice. You just have your little D2 there. When it comes to, why is it not? Okay, well, let's go to the other side. Maybe that'll make a difference. But there we go. So you got your GEO knife. I don't know why they put knife on it. I would highly recommend taking knife off the blade, because it's pretty obvious this is a knife. So GEO, that's the brand. Leave it on there. That's fine. Not too big. It's not too small. I got no real issue with it. But knife can go. That's just kind of unnecessary. But other than that, it looks good. Got your D2 blade marking there. All good to go there. Nice simple blade on this guy at 3 inches. It's going to fall under the legality of a lot of laws, so you're good to go on carry of it. And into the handle and ergos, when it comes to carrying it, unfortunately, this doesn't have a pocket clip. And I have a problem with that. And here's why. And I think I know what they were doing. This knife was, in the description, it calls it a camping folding knife. So I'm assuming they didn't put a pocket clip on this because they expect it to be a knife you would throw in a camping bag, or a bag you carry while you're hiking and going out into the wilderness. This is my thing on that. I'm a proponent of carrying 2 knives. I think that's always smart to have a backup knife. So if I'm hiking, and I hike a lot, if you guys follow me on my Instagram, you see I go out to Montana and other parts of the country for hiking. I love the outdoors. When I hike, I like to carry a fixed blade and a folding knife, and my folding knife is going to be in my pocket. It is never going to be in my bag. And without a pocket clip, I would never carry this knife on a hike with me. When you're hiking, you always want to keep as little amount of weight as possible in your bag. And, it's just, so I put my fixed blade, I'll usually strap that to the outside or throw it to the inside of my bag and carry it that way. And then my other knife I will have in my pocket, because I could very well use a knife during my hike, whether it be for, who knows what. But I always like to have a knife easily accessible, not in a backpack. With this not having a pocket clip, I struggle to see a reason for me to personally purchase this knife. Now, that's not saying this isn't a good knife. I really like the design. The ergos are great. I like the ergos a lot on this knife. It's a thicker knife. Not the end of the world, but it's very thick. I don't think they really minded that much about that, because they intended this to be a backpack knife. But again, I just told you why I don't think it would make a great backpack knife. So there's that. I think this knife would be fantastic if they thinned it out a little and put a pocket clip on it, because it's just begging. It is absolutely begging for a pocket clip. Obviously, for me, preferably on the right side right here, and just follow the curve of the line right here, and it would fit just fine there. It would go in the pocket well. It wouldn't be a hot spot, and then you could carry this like a regular pocket knife. That would be a lot more attractive to me. Again, you guys let me know who else out there are big hikers. I feel like I'm pretty right with this, but maybe I'm wrong. Tell me, what are your thoughts? Would you carry something like this in your backpack, or would you rather it have a pocket clip? I would definitely rather it have a pocket clip, and to be totally honest, this knife in $19.99 with the same materials and blade steel, I would rather it just have a pocket clip and be thinned down a little, and then be closer to, the $35, $38 that the 901 is, and just have them be the same price. I would rather do that, because for $20, when it comes to buying a knife that I'm going to use, the $18 in price isn't going to make or break it for me. I'd rather have the pocket clip, and I think it would go just fine on there. But then you would maybe want to thin these scales out just a little, because while it does feel great in hand as is, your problem is carrying it. So that's where I run into an issue. But man, I really do love that blade shape. The blade shape looks fantastic. The ergos are really, really good. All in all, outside of not having a pocket clip, I like this knife a whole lot. And the action on this guy is great. The fidget factor on this one is a little better on the 903 is a little better than the 901, just because you got dual thumb studs. So you got your thumb deployment, you have your index finger deployment, and then you also have your middle finger flick. And the bearings on this guy are smooth. The bearings on both of them are super smooth. No issues on smoothness or action at all with either one of them. They're definitely screaming Kubi style action. Again, they're definitely made in the same plant as Kubi by the same people. The quality and action represent that. So a lot of good things to like about these knives. These are both really good knives. If I had to pick one, as is, I would definitely go with the 901. I do like both of these. I like the blade shapes really equally. I like the 3.3 inches compared to the 3 inches, because me living in Michigan, I don't have to worry about any type of nonsense like a 3-inch blade law. That really shouldn't be a law anywhere, but it is. So I highly recommend you abide by it, because there's no reason to get into legal troubles. I got that in there. There you go. But no, I do like the 901 a little better. It has slightly cleaner looks, but for $19.99, still a nice knife. The 903 is still good. Again, I wish it would just have a pocket clip and cost a little more. I'd be totally fine with that. If this knife had a pocket clip and it was $35, I wouldn't have much of an issue. I do wish that the scales were a little thinner, though. If you could get the thickness a little more in line with the 901, that would be great. As you can see, this is considerably thicker than the 901, as the numbers indicated. But, yeah, pocket clip. This really needs a pocket clip, but the design is great. The design on both of these are great. As far as my normal checklist of design, aesthetics, quality, build, ergos, action, and even the fidget factor, these both really check all the boxes. They really do. I just wish this one would carry a little better with a pocket clip. Other than that, both very nice offerings from GEO. So, I think you guys will see more from GEO. I think they got some good things going. They got some nice, clean designs. I'd like to see an improved model of this. I think that would be extremely intriguing. But as far as these two go as is, they're both pretty darn good. Let me know what you guys think. If any of you guys experienced a GEO knife, what do you think of these two? Which one would you rather have? Let me know. I'm very interested to hear that, and I think GEO would be too. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.